Today, we're joined by Chad Bronstein, CEO and co founder of Real American Freestyle Wrestling. The rapidly growing wrestling league announced the launch of Next Gen, a national youth wrestling series that will stream on Fox Nation, along with an ambitious plan to acquire and build a nationwide network of wrestling clubs. During the interview, Chad breaks down why he believes wrestling is on the verge of becoming America's next breakout sport, how RAF plans to acquire 30 to 40 wrestling clubs, growing wrestling in emerging markets like Texas and Florida, and creating a Disney World atmosphere at events for wrestling families. But before we get into that, we want to thank Black Magic Design Cameras for sponsoring this show. Listen, filming youth sports has come a long way. Organizations can now create a new revenue stream from live broadcast using the same products as professional teams. A hockey club in Michigan can use the same camera that the NHL uses behind the goal, and a baseball facility in California can afford the same cameras Disney used to shoot the latest Marvel movie. That's all thanks to Black Magic Design, who makes it possible. Whether you are a sports facility, a club, school, or coach, Black Magic Design allows high quality, affordable, and easy to learn multi-camera streaming and filming. Check out their studio cameras, production switchers, DaVinci Resolve editing and replay tools, and the Black Magic Camera app on iPhone and Android. For more information, please go to blackmagicdesign.com. Now, let's get into the interview. We're here with Chad Bronstein, CEO of Real American Freestyle. Chad, thanks for joining Buying Sandlot. To start you off, I just wanted to ask, can you give us a rundown of the Next Gen and the club network that you guys have recently just announced?
Yeah, so for Next Gen, we launched its first of its kind, which is we have our main show on Saturday and our Next Gen tournament on Sunday. So it's the best kids from the ages of 8U to 15U. And they've signed up from we announced it, we had over 980 kids sign up from, the United States and also different countries. But it will be, one thing we always got when we host these events is most of our audience is family friendly. So it's kids at the wrestling clubs and they're like, hey, when am I going to get the shot to become the next RAF superstar? So we signed a deal with Fox Nation. So it will be really cool that they're going to be streamed on Fox Nation with Fox partnership. I don't know if you're watching the World Cup right now, but RAF's all over the World Cup. So it's giving us, Fox is constantly promoting it. So the kids will get the same kind of level of promotion. And then they'll wrestle 12 events a year for it, but there'll be 2 events where they'll get to wrestle on the main stage on Friday night, like the athletes do on that more 1v1 stage. The youth Next Gen will be 12 mats, but when we go into that 1v1, it will be that kind of structure. And then the clubs, it's, we're not, you guys know this, it's what you guys do, but the club, there's 5,600 clubs in America for wrestling, right? But what we would be doing, we acquired one in Tampa, my son's actual wrestling coach, who I know very well, and Izzy grew up with too, was I just liked the way he ran his club. And for the first club that we did, it's important that we have someone we can work with really well. So he's our first acquisition, but we'll probably be making about, I would say 30 to 40 in the next, 4 to 6 months.
So Chad, that's a great place. That's I was going to go. You anticipate acquiring these clubs or doing affiliations with some of them? What's the game plan for that?
So I think there's going to be a mixture, right? There may be a spot like in Cleveland, we may just open up our own club, right? And but the idea is that it's the RAF athlete and clinics, camps, curriculum. But when we acquire a club like Connor Beebe's club, who's in Tampa, Connor, it's not to say, hey, Connor, you need to follow our way. It's to say, hey, we're gonna actually help you grow the club with our marketing, our ability to bring in the highest level clinicians, to really just give that RAF hemisphere that we've created. And so he's still the GM of that. He's still the guy that's going to run that club. I actually go to that club. I sit in the parking lot. I don't go in. I'm not trying to change, but we're just helping build the structures. And the idea is that we're going to buy in Florida. We're starting off with probably going to buy 5 or 6 clubs that, you got Tampa, Miami, the other side, as well as Naples, and Odessa. And it's really to create that structure of symbiotic structure where it's like in wrestling, it's like you can't club hop. You're not going to go from one club to the next club because it would be frowned upon. But if you have a club network where you can, one week you want to go to Connor for specific lessons, and the other week you want to go drive 45 minutes to get a different look from a different coach. It gives you the ability to have that network of clubs and just really create, it's an environment where you're going to be around the best of the best on a consistent basis.
If you could expand on that, just because I'm familiar with having covered high school wrestling, college wrestling, which is how critical the club environment is to wrestling, the entire wrestling ecosystem, especially youth development. And I guess the fact that unlike other sports, top wrestlers seek out other top wrestlers. There's less of a fear of losing in wrestling than there is in other sports.
Yeah, you see. So it's one great question. But yeah, so club wrestling, like Izzy Martinez is my partner. He is one of the top clubs in the United States. If when I go watch, or Connor, who is a club we acquired, they're all at high school states. You have the high school coach, and then you got the club coach somewhere near and dear to that person, because the club coach is a relationship you're building from my son, who's 6 up until he's 18, will always be with that club coach if they're sticking with that club. So no matter who he's wrestling for high school, he'll respect you, go to the high school coach, but you still want to have the high school coach will also embrace the club coach, because they want to be able to, give that athlete the best, surroundings they can have. So club wrestling is very important. Like when you look at, tennis or golf or baseball, they all have those kind of models too. But club wrestling is like, I feel like it's what makes the sport. You have the club coaches are where you feel, you're there every day for your whole life.
What makes a good club? What is something that you saw at your current one in Tampa that you'd like to emulate somewhere in Miami, Naples, Odessa, wherever you choose to expand those 30 to 40? And follow-up question there, are you going to target like the hotbeds of wrestling, like your Pennsylvanias, your Ohios, your Iowas, or is there kind of like ice hockey in a way? Like Dallas is a pretty strong market, but you'd never expect that a hot place like Dallas would be a great strong market for ice hockey. What do you think about that?
Well, I bought so Connor BB, the club we acquired is called BB Trained. Now, and Connor grew up in Illinois. He's a 4-time state champ. Went to Central Michigan. He actually grew up with Izzy. Small enough world where and I like we all, you want to find someone. It's the club. You're buying the club and the culture they're building, right? And then you're helping grow that culture and expanding it. Because Connor would admit to us, but Connor's not going to go out and sell membership. Like he believes his wrestling is good enough where you're coming there and you're signing up because you want to be a part of his wrestling club. And that's the philosophy. What we're going to help do is just grow that and what RAF's been able to do is mainstream the sport, right? If you go to jiu-jitsu or karate, your kids learning self-defense. You're not going necessarily to be a karate champ. You're going to sometimes just to get confidence. That's what wrestling is. So we just have to educate that way. But in terms of BB, why we bought it is because of him, right? And his coaching staff and how he impacts kids' lives. These coaches, like I watch how Izzy has impacted my son. My son's my case study. How he impacts my son's life, or Connor impacts my son's life, or Coach Joyce, the original coach we had in Tampa. You're really looking at how the culture they build, what they're teaching, not just wrestling, and lessons that they're teaching, and how not just are they winning, but how are the kids reacting. And so I think that's why we looked at acquiring him first, and then he's a great steward for us to work with us across other clubs and just helping us identify the right ones.
And Chad, I know like a lot of RAF is kind of based in Florida, but we always talk about wrestling. Florida and Texas, those sort of like gigantic emerging markets that don't have a D1 program yet. I guess how important is you guys to kind of have a foothold in Florida as you're trying to develop the grassroots ecosystem?
Well, Florida, Illinois and Florida and Ohio technically are 3 important parts for me. I grew up in Cleveland, lived in Chicago, and then lived in Tampa. So, but Texas is another big one. So Texas needs help, right? So in Florida, believe it or not, both wrestling markets are big, just not known for it, but they have it. Like since we've been here, we've had 2 RAF events, one in Miami, one in Amaron, and one in Tampa, and they were amazing. But they need some love, right? So I think that RAF is like the NBA and the NFL. The fact of the matter is we're growing at a rapid speed, and if we keep building the sport, it's like you build, they will come. And I do think we'll have universities in Florida. The goal would be to get like a UF or a Florida State or Miami to have a program, which they should, right? And same thing in Texas. A UT should be able to, or one A&M should be able to get a Texas wrestling program. So I think the more that we grow it in these markets, the more the popularity comes, then you get more buy-in, right? And I think that's what we've shown. And we're 11 shows in, but we're proving that, we're getting 250 million views on Instagram every 30 days. Like it's getting to be a point where it's hard to argue that wrestling's not popular. So now we just have to get the universities to be able to back it.
Yeah, 100%. I hear you talk, and I'm a wrestling novice. I'm nowhere close to where James is at and everything. I mean, the guy covered it for years. But it seems like you and flag football are kind of in the same race, not a race competitively, but flag football is building. Now we're seeing an emerging sport and D1s and stuff. Club wrestling, you're trying to become, maybe some sports in universities and stuff. D1. Go ahead.
I think wrestling's a little bit more advanced in terms of college universities,
but 100%.
But yes, I hear what you're saying. I think that flag foot, but wrestling in sense, it just in certain Big 10, Big 12, in those arenas, wrestling's it's huge. But the other states that James was referencing, like Texas and these other states, I would use that as like a flag football one where they need the push because it's not as popular as Big 10 or Big 12 or even Ivy, certain areas.
Yeah. I said when I talked to Chad earlier for another section of our newsletter, like if people could see like Big 10 Friday night, Sunday afternoon wrestling, they would be sold. I mean, they're like Iowa matches. Like if First Take covered Iowa wrestling, it would lead like once a week. Stephen A would be talking about what Tom Brands did or said. So I think that's the big key. And I think RAF is doing a great job of kind of injecting, people are taking notice like, oh, hey, this is awesome. And there's personalities and there's rivalries and everything. Chad, I guess, obviously you got the first next gen tournament coming up in Milwaukee in a couple of weeks. Total numbers across all the age groups. How many kids do you anticipate having, on the mat?
I think we're trying to limit it, to be honest with you, but probably like 700-800 just because we need to get through it in one day. Right. And so how we're going to build it is like, instead of you're not going to watch every single match throughout on Fox, but we're going to make the finals really, really special. So the finals will be aired on Fox at 7:00, and then we'll have like a post presser. We're going to create some really we'll have, if they're going to feel like it's going to be Chell, Shane, and Juliana doing the finals broadcast. We're going to do, we're going to have media like, Abby Hornacek and Johnny Julius going around really interviewing the kids. We'll be creating a lot of just like you see on our main show, some special moments during the day that will then air on the primetime special. I mean, the primetime event. But I think realistically you'll see between 800 and 900. We have like 990 registered. So I'll give us like call it a hedge. But I think we're trying to keep for this first one as limited as possible so we can get through it smooth. And it's kind of like the parent's lens. You guys, what you guys know is like the parent is the customer. And like for me, when I go to a wrestling tournament, I have to wait 6 hours for my son to have one match. The key is if I do that, I'm going to be really pissed at myself because then I screwed up. So the idea is that a kid's wrestling consistently throughout the day and that the parent and kid experience is fluid so that it's a good day.
Yeah. Many hours of my life I cannot get back being in New Jersey at the Union County tournament where they would wrestle back for 8th place, and it's 7:00 at night and there's 2 heavyweights, an ultimate tiebreaker, and you're just like, let it end. So
exactly. So that's why we built this, is like it's really to go and create that. It's like I want people to come to our wrestling weekends and feel like it's Disney World for wrestling. Like you're coming in, you got the fan zone, you got the main event, you got the clinic. We're hosting a clinic on Saturday. It's going to be free, where it's going to be like a RAF Next Gen Get Ready clinic for this Sunday, but we'll have some RAF athletes running clinics, doing some live, they need to cut weight, whatever it may be, setting them up for a Sunday.
And just expand that, Chad. I don't know if the average youth sports industry person or sports fan understands how much access the littlest kids can kind of get to the biggest names in wrestling. And RAF, you guys are at the point now where basically every major name in wrestling has been tied to you guys in one way or the other. Just and I know that's gonna be part of the clubs, bring these guys in for clinics or training, just having guys in the room.
Yeah, so the whole point is wrestling's a humble sport, so they all have like you. If you come to one of our events, they have access to all. They get to walk at the hotel. If they're coming to our hotel, the athletes are hanging out, walking around. You have the meet and greet, the fan zone, where I don't think that happens in a lot of sports. For like even Chimaev and Armin and Marab and all of them are sitting there for 2.5 hours, and they know they have responsibility because there's so many kids waiting in line for them. So it's pretty easily accessible. And that's the cool part about wrestling. I hope we stay that way with the culture, is that the kids do have, that's why we built it, is that the kids have the ability to look up to their superstars. And it's cool. Like even the trading cards, they come in with their trading cards, and the athletes are just as excited to see their trading cards as well as the kid is. So it's really, I think that's the coolest part about all this, is like the accessibility to how everyone interacts. Even at the event, the athletes will go up to the bleachers, or to the seats, and they'll sit down with them. Nolf will always do like a surprise come out where he's like sitting in the stands with some kids. So we do walkouts where kids can raffle to walk out with their favorite athletes, stuff like that.
How do you guys, I'm going back to the 30 to 40 clubs that you guys want to acquire in the next 6 months. Any interest there in getting to academics and building out maybe a wrestling sports academy? Any thoughts on that?
Possibly in the future. I think the way we're going to start it off now is homeschool co-ops, right? In the clubs. Like in Florida, my son gets homeschooled. He goes to a homeschool co-op. So you can do, with the right, I think you got to really, if you're going to do it, you got to invest in it. And so it's going to be creating the right curriculum for that. And so it can't just be the coach teaching, even though some coaches are great teachers. I think you got to have a specific curriculum that's run by someone. That's if we're going to, so we're looking at in Florida right now, the first location we're doing, we'll have that. We're signing we're going to announce, but we'll be launched in September in Tampa, but it's like in a 16,000 square foot facility. So we'll have, it will be pretty sizable. And we'll also have our own production that like Eric Bischoff, and then we'll use in the back for some of our film and cut. So it'll be a really cool first, call it RAF club / location.
What's the curriculum look like at the homeschool co-ops typically?
Usually when you do a homeschool co-op, let's use my son's as an example. He goes to school from Monday Monday through Thursday, and he'll do 9 to 1. And then he'll also do like one music, like piano till 2, something like that. So kind of similar hours. You're going 4 hours usually. And it's consistent 4 hours. And then that, then they have the ability to incorporate training during the day, et cetera. My son just goes to a specific co-op, not a wrestling one. This would be something that we create that would be similar, where they can incorporate some lessons of wrestling during the day as well.
Last one on the academy, just because I'm interested in it. We see like the 4-hour model of academics versus the 4-hour model of sports. We see that down at IMG Academy. We talked to people from the Bennett School who are more based in baseball. They do AI learning, a special program that they use for 2-hour learning. How do you guys think of that, in the future? Maybe it's too far down the line, but how do you think would there be like an AI component to it, or are you guys comfortable with what you have on the curriculum right now?
I think we haven't created the curriculum. I'm working with someone to create it. So I want it to be built based off of something I would do with my kids. Right. So that's going to be how we approach it. And we're taking it. That's why we haven't announced anything. We're taking it very seriously. So I want to get it done right. So I do think we can get there. IMG's down the street from me, 45 minutes away. Actually, at my co-op, my son goes to school with the two Drew Weatherford's kids at the co-op that he goes to. But I've been down to IMG, and they do a great job. I think that wrestling's a little different. The Enoch and then they just started their wrestling program, and they're doing a great job. But in the club model, not every kid's going to want to spend that kind of money to go to IMG, right? I think James would probably agree with me. But if you're in Jersey or you're in Florida and there's a top coach, top club, you're probably just going to send them to that club for wrestling.
Yeah. No, and I think you hit on a point too. Like I think with wrestling, it doesn't have the access barrier issues of other sports, but It is something you have to be cognizant of, because to kind of tie up the combination of athletics and academics, so many top wrestlers end up going to Ivy League schools.
Correct.
So there is a lot involved in this.
Look at Kyle Dake. Kyle Dake. He's 4-time NCAA champ at Cornell. A lot of kids go to Cornell or Columbia now. Even Harvard's building up their team. But yeah, there's a lot of it. But I do think that's the thing, James, that you said is like wrestling's just different. Like golf, tennis, basketball, baseball. You understand lacrosse, IMG is going to build wrestling too. I just think wrestling's more of it's still, in my opinion, it's still a heavy club sport.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's a sport where kids from all walks of life can succeed. You go to New Jersey State tournament, you might have affluent kids who go to a private school, but you also, like when I was covering it, a kid from Camden High won state tournament heavyweight. And the only training he had was the coach at the school, and he won it all. So
this was awesome. I really appreciate this. I learned a lot. Obviously, you can see that I'm the novice in this in this relationship.
But it's good. It's good. You know what? We want to educate all the novice, right? But even like if you look at our commentary, Juliana Pena knows wrestling, but she's still a novice learning wrestling every time she goes on. That's the important thing about what we're doing is like getting all the novice that know enough about it to know more and to want to learn more and understand the rules. So like that's the goal of RAF.
Anything else you want to promote where people can find you? Whatever you like.
No, I think we covered it all, right? So people just tune in on Fox Nation and watch it, and then obviously stay tuned. We'll be buying more clubs over the next, call it 3 months, and could be some in Philly, could be some in New Jersey. You never know.
Love it. Well, good luck with everything.